Hello, my name is Michael Campion. I'd like to talk to you a bit today about spin casting of oxide materials. So this is a thin film deposition method, a chemical solution deposition method as well. So if you want to, I'll take you quickly through the process following the flow chart in the middle of the slide. So you start with some metal organic precursors, which you create a solution with usually an organic solvent, sometimes an aqueous solvent, and chelating agents to help promote stability of the metal organic species in the solvent. This solution is then dropped onto a substrate and spun at a high revolution per minute, thousands of revolutions per minute, to create a thin layer of solution, which usually dries during the spinning process. So then you're left with a wet, gelled, thin film layer with both organics and metal ion species. This layer is then heated to decompose these organic species and get rid of them. So then you're left with a quote-unquote amorphous oxide film. So you have this mix of oxygen ions and metal cations still in your film, and then you can either go back and coat more for thicker films, or alternatively you can go to a crystallization step and finish crystallizing your film. And so why do we care about this deposition method? So this is actually a very cheap and scalable way to deposit oxides. So it's of particular interest for industrial applications. You wouldn't necessarily use spin coating, but spin coating is a good way to explore the process of chemical solution deposition for more scalable techniques such as spray coating, dip coating, or preferably a continuous chemical solution deposition method. There also multi-layers are quite easy to form with these, so you can have stacked multi-layer substrates, create structures like that quite easily. So what are the disadvantages? So it's actually a high temperature process due to the last crystallization step, so usually you need to go to higher temperatures compared to physical vapor deposition methods. So this kind of excludes the use of plastic substrates, amorphous substrates, or organic substrates, because you might crystallize them. It's not a very precise method. It's hard to hit precise stoichiometries, at least currently. It takes a lot of tuning even to get reasonable control over the stoichiometry. And it's also less precise in the meaning of it's really only meant for spin coating to form flat layers on flat surfaces. You could maybe get it to form a conformal coating onto things, but you'd have to very much tune the process to do that. And as I'm going to point out in a minute, there's actually quite a few variables to be worried about in order to produce a quality film. So moving to the next slide, looking at process parameters. So looking at the process controls that we have in order to affect our deposition. The first is the choice of our precursors. What solvent are we going to use? What metal organics are we going to use? What chelating agent are we going to use? The combination of these three are going to determine an evaporation rate for the solution. It's going to determine the solution stability, the solution lifetime, and probably most importantly, or also very importantly, it will determine the gel that forms, this metal organic gel that forms once you've dried in the initial step, because the formation of this gel can actually have significant effects on the final density of the film, the morphology of the film, and the nucleation behavior of the film, as has been shown numerous times in the formation of PZT. Also, the substrate choice will matter. You want a smooth substrate, whether it's lattice matched or whether it's non-lattice matched, will also make a difference in the film formation. So when you actually start the spinning process, the speed and the time the speed at which you spin and the time at which you spin will be key factors in determining the film thickness, as will the molarity of the solution that you've produced. Next, in the pyrolysis step, you have to worry about the heating rate, the time of heating. So actually, it's counterintuitively, a lot of times you use a rapid thermal annealer to heat these films very quickly, and that tends to actually give better crystalline structures and can affect the nucleation behavior. You also want to look to whether it's a one-step or two-step process. In a two-step process, you have a separate pyrolysis to get rid of the organics, and then you crystallize an amorphous metal oxide film. In other processes, you do it all in one step and just heat to a crystallization temperature very quickly, burn out, and crystallize in one step, which actually can be done relatively effectively. Also, the time of the crystallization and the atmosphere is very important, especially when talking about oxides. Whether you're in an oxidizing or reducing atmosphere will have significant effects on the stoichiometry, and has even been shown to stabilize different phases in the formation. So these are kind of the controls, the knobs that we have to turn. So the process conditions that these affect that we need to also be concerned with is the solution viscosity that comes out of our precursors, and this combines with the evaporation rate. You have to worry about if they're not the right ratio, then you can actually get striations in your film. You can get very ununiform film. You also have to worry about the wetting characteristics of your solution. You have to worry about how the solution is going to decompose, what temperature it's going to come out, how fast it's going to come out. That'll affect your film formation. The nucleation behavior is actually heavily affected, as I said, by the heating rate, which I'll talk a little more about in the next slide. Because it changes the crystallization driving force, which I'll also talk about in the next slide. And the film stoichiometry. So I didn't mention here, you also have a problem of, during the crystallization step, you could also lose metal species through the form of vapor or into diffusion into the substrate. So now looking at the final slide, so looking at how are we going to model this process. So we can't model it kinetically as we have many of the other processes that we've looked at, because it's not a continuous process, it's a discrete process. So the rate at which you're going to deposit is actually dependent upon the solution molarity, the spin speed, and the solution viscosity, because you're limited by how thick you can make a single layer. And then your processing time will be based on, how fast can you put layers down, how often do you need to crystallize between each layer, do you crystallize only at the end. All of these things will determine your rate. However, there's a lot of other processes that need to be modeled and have been modeled in these systems. Looking at your upper right, you can see two different nucleation behaviors. And you can see actually what caused this is by going to different crystallization temperatures very quickly, you can alter the driving force, which is shown in the lower right. So at lower temperatures, you actually have a higher, at lower temperatures, you're more likely to nucleate at the substrate surface, so you're more likely to get columnar grains, whereas at higher temperatures, it's more likely that you'll nucleate anywhere in the film, so you can actually get a different grain structure from that. The formation of the gel is a kinetic process which can be explored. The stability of the solution is also very important. You want solutions that are not going to age over time, because this is going to completely throw off the consistency of your process. The organics removal process is a kinetic process. The crystallization, as I just said, was a kinetic process, and the metal diffusion into the film and the evaporation are also kinetic processes that need to be considered. So I hope I gave you a brief look into chemical solution deposition by spin casting for oxides. I think it's a really promising technique. I think one thing that's really being looked at is how to crystallize these films at lower temperatures, because that's really the limit. Or one of the main limitations. If we could do these at lower temperatures, it would open a lot of doors into different processing models. So thank you for your time. And